Ladies and gentlemen, this is just so fun because I think it's fun for me to sit down with people who have dedicated their life to serve other people. And whether you think about it or not, you have done so much for not only the state of Georgia, but really the world. I mean, I'm pretty sure there has been conversations, projects that your name has been attached to that some of us probably never know about or haven't known about. And I want to say first, thank you for joining me today, Congressman Sanford Bishop. And it's such an honor, so thank you.
No, the honor is mine. Thank you for having me and for introducing this conversation.
Well, I remember the first time we met. I was telling your chief of staff who's here. I remember the first time we met. We were at I believe a business mixer or something like that, and you were, I think you were like a special guest. And I sat down, so when we got there, I said, okay, I ain't gonna talk to him because everybody was around you. Everybody wanted to talk to you and shake your hand, take pictures and stuff like that. And I said, well, I'll just wait. I'll wait until the end of the event. And I waited, and I almost did not say anything to you out of just nerves because I was like, well, okay, well. And so I remember I asked you, I said, Mr. Bishop, do you have like 3 minutes? We were sitting down, and you said, sure. And we talked, and I don't know how we got to this conversation, but I remember you saying to me, make the corner brighter where you are. Do you remember saying that? Do you say that often?
I do.
Yeah, I remember
it's
that.
Something my grandmother said.
And that's what I'm saying. So I remember that one conversation. That was probably like at least 5 years ago. And it's just certain things you hear that just stick with you for a lifetime. And I never forgot that. Where did you say your grandmother gave you that, but how do you ground yourself, or those things that you use to ground yourself when things don't always turn out the way that they have or whatever? That makes sense?
Yes. I think that the center of my life is my faith. From an early childhood, I was involved in church, Sunday school, and my parents were people of faith, and they steered me to church, Sunday school, and I've been a part of church since as far back as I can remember, probably 2-3 years old.
Really?
Yeah, so the primary class, the junior class, the intermediate class, the young adult class, all the way through my life, I've been involved in church.
Really?
And it has been very, very meaningful for me, and it has grounded me. So that was my basis. And of course, through my church, I was associated with the Boy Scouts. I started with Cub Scouts, then Boy Scouts, Explorer.
Yeah.
And that was always exciting to me. The church I grew up in Mobile, Alabama, had the first African-American scout troop. The troops were numbered 1 through 200, and starting at 201, was the first African-American troop, which was at the Franklin Street Baptist Church in Mobile. So I was in Troop 201. But from, I guess, the time I was 5 or 6 years old, seeing the older guys in the church, and those who were a part of the neighborhood, the surrounding area, who were members of the troop, they would come periodically to church services, and I would see them as they would come and pile into cars to go to camp, which gave them the opportunity to miss attending church service on Sunday. And of course, I said, wow, I hope I can get old enough and join that to be able to be
a part.
I can be a part of that, and I can actually skip church.
So you're grounded. That really goes to show how what kind of parents you had, because your dad was in the educational field, and then your mom was a librarian. I just want to give me. Let's say this. What's your favorite car? Give me your favorite car. if maybe you have your favorite car now, but what is your favorite car? Give me the name. I want the model. Give me the year.
The favorite car that I had, I guess now it has to be the Tahoe.
Come on, the Tahoe.
Yeah,
I love the Tahoe.
I've had 3 of them. Before that, I had 4 or 5 Volkswagens.
Okay. Does it matter what year?
No. Well, I started out with a 1963 Beetle.
Okay.
And that one got wrecked, and I ended up with a 1960. I guess I don't know. It must have been 68.
Right. Okay, so let's say mine is a GMC. By the way, I want a GMC Denali, and I want the seats to be peanut butter seats, and I want the GMC to be blacked out. I want the red letters, and I think God made that car for us because it say GMC, God made car. That's what I think. That's my favorite car. But let's say that you and I are driving down the street that you grew up in Mobile, Alabama, and you're the man. Now we in your favorite car, so everybody's looking at the car. They're like, wow, look at Bishop in that car. I want you, if you can, to take me down the street that you grew up on. What was it like being Little Bishop?
Well, let me go back a little bit further than that. When I was born, my parents lived in the projects. It was called Orange Grove Projects. It was one of the first federal housing administration projects in the Mobile area for African Americans.
Wow.
And of course, we lived there. I attended nursery school there. And I guess when I was 6, 7, we moved to Davis Avenue, which was the main drag in the hood, in the African American community, and we lived in a duplex. And from there, we moved when I was 10. We moved to Tolmanville, which was a little bit further out into a home. And of course, after my 7th birthday, it was a neighborhood. There were a lot of civil service employees there. They worked at the Air Force Base, which was a good job for African Americans. It was a segregated neighborhood, a relatively new subdivision. Had lots of friends who were my age.
So you played a lot. You had a lot of playtime.
Oh, well, not so much a lot of playtime, but there were a lot of playmates, a lot of people in the neighborhood with whom to play because my parents were kind of strict.
Okay.
I had to do the homework. I had to do the housework. I had to do
all that. Were you the oldest child? You the only child or oldest child?
I was the only child.
Only child,
yes.
Really?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
So I had to do a lot of things for myself. I had to fend for myself.
Wow.
Because both my parents were employed, and I was a latchkey kid going to school.
Did you know that you lived in the projects, or did your parents make you feel like that was good, or what? How was it?
I was so young at that time that I really was not aware of. I was very aware of the nursery school because after they moved out of the projects, I went back to the nursery school. So it was Orange Grove Nursery School.
Sure.
And of course, I have very, very vivid and fond memories of nursery school, like 2 years old all the way up through the time they put me out at 5. So I didn't need to be there anymore.
So were you an easy person to make friends? Did you have a lot of friends, or what? Take me through those times.
I think that because I was an only child, I naturally wanted to reach out and make friends, and so I was gregarious and outgoing, and I did make friends easily.
Yeah. At what point in your life? And maybe give me a particular age too, because I'm curious to know that. At what point in your life did you notice you had this leadership ability to lead people?
You know, I guess I didn't notice that myself. Others seem to have taken note of that propensity. I remember when I was in 5th grade and we were having elections for student council in the
Wow.
elementary school.
Wow. In fifth grade, I was voting for people?
Yeah,
Wow.
and the class said, we want you to be the president.
Really?
I said, me? Why you want me? It's because you're not afraid to ask the teachers questions, and you'll ask things that we're afraid to ask.
Uh-huh. So you had some boldness about you.
Yeah, so they voted me to be the fifth grade president of the class, and so I was a representative in the student council. And
Wow.
from then on, I continued in student council in junior high school, college. But I joined the Boy Scouts, first Cub Scouts.
Right.
That was inspirational to me. The interesting thing is I wanted to be a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout as early as I could because Mardi Gras was started in Mobile, Alabama.
Yeah.
People think it was New Orleans, but it was actually
Dr.
Mobile.
Rocky has made that very clear to me.
Oh yeah,
because he is the man, Mardi Gras man here in Columbus. Yeah. So I'm very aware of that.
So they really had two Mardi Gras in Mobile. They had the colored Carnival Association, and they had the white Mardi Gras. And of course, the main street, which was Davis Avenue, that was where the big celebration for Mardi Gras was held in Mobile. And the traffic, they wouldn't have enough police officers to direct traffic because there was always lots of traffic. And so they would employ the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts with the whistles and the uniforms to direct traffic. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah, okay.
So I just couldn't wait to be old enough
to wear
be
that
a
uniform
Cub Scout,
and
to
all
wear
that.
that uniform and have that whistle and be able to stop the cars and start them and make them turn and turn around. And so that was an inspiration. But once I got into scouting, and I learned the principles of scouting, that was very, very impactful on me in my life, to learn the Scout Oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, thrifty, obedient, cheerful, brave, reverent. All of those are principles. Those are the 12 points of the Scout Law that are basically foundations of character.
Sure.
And of course, every week when we had a meeting, we had to recite that. And from time to time, we would have to explain the meaning of that.
Yeah.
And we would have to remember the Scout motto, be prepared.
So it was the Scout that made you kind of see the importance of leading and being a leader and servanthood. That's what.
Yeah, because it was organized in packs and troops.
Sure.
And patrols.
Sure. I sat down here with Calvin Smyrie, Representative Calvin Smyrie, make sure I say that. And I asked him along the same question, and his answer was like he just kind of fell into this role of serving the people. Like he had no intentions, no kind of desire to do it, but because of his influence and his curiosity to want to change things, he kind of just fell into it. So to hear you say that, it's kind of like, wow, that's kind of like, if it were not for your desire to be a Scoutsman, you probably wouldn't be or wouldn't know the importance of what you're doing today.
I don't know. And in retrospect, as I look back, I can see the influences on my life.
Right. You know, your father was the president of a college. I think they named it in his honor. And then your mother was a librarian. I wonder, how did education shape your household? Were you said that your parents were strict, but how strict was it? Like, could you not make a B, or could you make all A's? Did you have to make all A's, or what? What kind of?
That was an expectation that I made the best possible grades that I could.
Okay.
And I was expected to come home and to study, not to go out and play in the afternoons, as my many of my friends did.
Okay.
But I was expected to sit there and get my lesson.
And
I had to
did
bring.
it.
I couldn't leave my books at school in my locker. I had to bring all of my books home every day. And so, unlike my friends, I was carrying an armful of books and often an instrument to home, back and forth to school. I had to walk to school.
Okay, see.
Yeah.
Now, was education, was education an important aspect in your family? Because I wonder, was your grandmother and grandfather, did they go to college or what? Tell me how.
No, my grandfather did not go to college. Neither of my grandparents.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. I was like, where did the desire come from in education? In your
Well,
mother?
it was just a part of my upbringing. Both my parents went to college,
Right.
obviously, and their families stressed education. And of course, my father was an educator, and my mother was an educator. They met at their first teaching job.
Wow.
And then they separated and went different ways in the country, but kept in touch. And my father ended up in Mobile, and my mother was in Arkansas. They met in Atlanta and got married and moved to Mobile. And
I think it was so interesting how their parents was not educated, but they made sure that you were educated. I think that was
their parents made sure that they were educated. So I think on my father's side, his father and mother had good jobs. They worked for a wealthy businessman in the community in Mississippi, in Starkville, Mississippi. And my grandfather was. He was actually the manager of the dry goods. He was African American back in the 20s, but he was able to be tasked with the responsibility of being the manager of the dry goods.
He was a leader too. He was a leader too.
Yes, and my grandmother on my father's side ran the household.
Okay.
So she ran this guy's household.
Okay.
And my father's brothers and sisters were all employed at that in some capacity at that household.
Wow!
And somehow they all went to college except for two.
Sure.
Two of them. There were 5 kids, and all but they went to college. My father was the youngest.
Wow!
On my mother's side, she had a brother. She had 2 sisters, and all 3 of the girls went to college.
Right.
The boy didn't.
Everybody was educated.
Well,
everybody. Tell me, you went to Morehouse.
I did.
Which I love Morehouse. I always said if it was my choice, I would have gone to Morehouse. I would, just because of the legacy of Morehouse. But you went to Morehouse in a time where a lot of things were happening in our world at that time. Tell me. What was it like for you being young, attending Morehouse? Tell me what that was like.
Well, I went to Morehouse in 1964. It was 10 years after the Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education. I remember when the decision came down and watching it and having my parents look at me and tell me that things were going to be different in my lifetime. We had experienced segregation. I went to segregated schools. The Klan had burned crosses in our neighborhood, as it was a transitional neighborhood. And so I felt the sting of discrimination and segregation, although we were somewhat protected from it because we were in our own communities. Only when we went downtown did we have to follow those special prescriptive avoidances to make sure that we didn't offend the mores.
Did it make you mad? Were you angry or were you nervous seeing all that?
Yes.
Because if I was younger, it would make me concerned, but it would make me want to do something. And so what did it make you?
Well, during that time, and of course, it was during the time when the Montgomery bus boycott was underway. My father was the local administrator for the Mobile Center, the Mobile branch of Alabama State, which was in Montgomery.
Sure.
And his boss was the president of Alabama State. And during that time, Dr. King was leading the movement there in Montgomery, and his house was being bombed, and
Right.
he was in danger. And Dr. Trenholm, who was president of Alabama State, would talk on the phone with my father, and was telling him what was going on in Montgomery, and to the fact that Dr. King and his family were actually staying in the president's house on the campus of Alabama State
University.
It was a college then. It was Alabama State College. Before it was a university.
So how did that make you feel as a young person?
Well, I was afraid. It was a tense time.
Yeah.
And of course, but I did hear what was going on.
So you must have had some hope then, in some way.
I did. I guess it was anxiety, not knowing what was going to happen. But
Sure.
going forward, finished high school. Had the opportunity when I was in high school to meet Dr. Mays, the phenomenal, legendary president of Morehouse College. Of course, it was a segregated time. He came to Mobile to speak to the local teachers association, and he stayed at our house.
Yeah.
So I came home from school one day, and this strange man was sitting in my living room. And of course, he was very entertaining,
Sure.
very inspirational, and found out he was the president of Morehouse, and something said, I might want to go to that school one day. Anyway, got to Morehouse. That was shortly after Dr. King had been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Dr. Mays had a special convocation for him during my freshman year. Dr. King came to the campus during the convocation. I got to shake his hand. I was inspired by his message, and I was just really taken by what he was doing, and wanted to be a follower of his.
Yeah, sure.
So that excited me because I had wanted to be a lawyer from the time I was in elementary school. I watched Perry Mason in the afternoon at 4:00. And he always got the innocent people off and got the guilty people convicted. And I wanted to be like Perry Mason. So I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I was majoring in political science and minoring in English at Morehouse. But Dr. King just kind of swept me.
Kind of drew to you.
And religion was required at Morehouse. Everybody, regardless of what your major was, you had to take at least one semester. But I was getting a BA. So I had to take a whole year of religion and a whole year of philosophy.
Right.
And of course, having grown up in the church, religion was easy for me because
sure.
I, New Testament, Old Testament, I had
always
that in
had
Sunday
it in
school.
you.
And so it was there. And with Dr. King's influence, I started feeling the call to follow in his footsteps. And so by the time I was a senior, he was assassinated. I was SGA.
You sung at his funeral.
Yeah, I was SGA president at the time. All hell broke loose around the campus, and I did. While he was living, I actually marched in a march that he led against the war in Vietnam in downtown Atlanta. But once he was killed, I mean, it just really made an impact on me. Sure. But prior to his assassination, I was interested in going to seminary, and Dr. Mays had retired. The new president was Dr. Glasser was being inaugurated, and I had to speak as a student government president after leading a demonstration on campus for changing the conditions. But the president, Dr. Wells from Crozier Theological Seminary, was going to interview me to get a scholarship at Crozier Theological Seminary, where Dr. King went.
Not only were you involved in a lot of things, but I thought was very interesting. I know you mentioned it just now, is that you kind of had this, which not too many people can say, that you had this view and like experiences with Dr. King that kind of encouraged you in a way and shaped the way you saw things. But you sung at his funeral, and you also have played a lot of things that he was a part of. What was that like, singing at Dr. King's funeral? I know it could have probably been sad, but what give us a view of what that was like.
Well, Dr. King had reached a real fever pitch at that point in the civil rights movement. He was at Memphis, and he had gotten a Nobel Prize, and he had done all of these things that had excited not only the nation but the world. And we were all following Dr. King, and then all of a sudden, we come out and he's assassinated. I came out of the dining hall and turned on the 6 o'clock news, and they had his speech in Memphis. And then right after the news went off, that was a breaking news that he had been assassinated. And everything just went wild all around the campus in Atlanta. There were fire bombings and sirens.
Right.
And so then it was all we could do to try to make sure that the campus itself was not destroyed. So we had to organize the students. I went over to, once his body was brought back, I went over to the funeral home on Auburn Avenue and to try to view the body. And his body lay in state in Sister's Chapel at Spelman College. And it was a time of mourning, a time of pain, a time of what are we going to do? Right. And I was determined that I was going to try to use my life to keep his dream alive.
And you did that.
So
you did that.
I was well. It was interesting because I had a dilemma. That was my senior year. I was in pre-law, as I said, and I was torn between going to law school and going to seminary. I had all expenses paid, scholarship to Crozier where Dr. King went, and then I had the opportunity through the Council on Legal Education opportunity to go to law school.
So how were you able to? How were you able to keep? How were you able to keep the young people focused around that time, or your peers at that time? How were you able to do that in such a tragic time?
Yeah, I had a committee. I was SJ president. I had a council, and I had people who were in my cabinet, and that's what we had to do. We had to convince our peers not to destroy the campus and to try to channel our anger in more constructive ways.
Else. Yeah, that's understandable.
So anyway, I was graduating, and I ran into an attorney who was a Morehouse grad who asked me, what do you plan to do? And I explained to him I had a dilemma, that I was accepted to Crozier Theological Seminary with all expenses paid, and where Dr. King had gone, and I was also accepted to law school. And by that time, I had completed a summer program. I was entering a summer program, which would give me the opportunity to go to Harvard, Yale, Duke, Vanderbilt, Emory law schools. And he said, well, what do you really want to do with your life? I said, I want to keep Dr. King's dream alive. I want to do something in the South with the civil rights movement to make things better. And he said, well, let me tell you something, son. He said, if that's what you want to do, we got enough preachers with hot air. You need to go to law school and be a lawyer, somebody with useful skills in the movement.
Right.
So that's how I ended up going to law school.
Wow.
And I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer, and I was fortunate enough to get an Earl Warren Fellowship at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund in New York, which was an internship in civil rights, and they were willing, if you completed that program, to set you up in a law practice in the South that did civil rights.
Right. Well, I wonder.
That's how I got to Columbus.
I wonder, Bishop, what do you think? All that has gone on in the world since Dr. King's death, being someone who has been around him and seeing how things have gone on, what do you think his opinion would be today based on what's going on currently in the world?
I believe that he would be of the same opinion that he was prior to his assassination at that point in the movement, because really we are at a similar point in history as we were in '68,
Really?
when Dr. King was assassinated. Our country was at a turning point. How do we implement or go forward with implementation of equal rights for everyone? And of course, after Dr. King's assassination, after the civil rights movement, with the Reagan administration, we had the pendulum swung back the other way, more conservative.
So what you're saying, I just want to understand.
I'm saying history is repeating itself.
Really?
That's what I see from where I was. All of my younger life, I was striving to achieve the civil rights, only to see them pushed back.
So what are we doing wrong?
Well, I don't know what it is that we're doing wrong. I wouldn't look at it that way, but I think that the powers that be in the world, the forces in the world, have become much more selfish. I think for a time after Dr. King's assassination, the world was more thoughtful, more compassionate, more willing to try to lift those who were being suppressed or oppressed to a point of equality in the spirit of Dr. King and Mahatma Gandhi. However, I think that as we got further away from that, we became more cynical as a world, particularly here in the United States, and we strayed away from that.
Yeah.
And I think that we are now seeing a cyclical point in history where we are now at a second post-Reconstruction. I think that the Project 2025, with the achievement of having elected Barack Obama as president, sent a message to a certain segment of the population that this has gone too far.
Right, this has gone too far. And what is your hope, though? What is your hope for?
My hope is that we will fight back this movement that is pushing. We have got to fight back, and it's just a matter of how long it will take. We've got to use the power of the
voting.
vote to the extent that we can, and of course it is under attack, much as it was.
How so?
Well, with the killing, if you will, the effectiveness of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, by which many of the black elected officials in the South were given the opportunity, because the right to vote was extended to all by virtue of the 65 Voting Rights Act, just as it was after slavery.
It's same argument.
After the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, post-Reconstruction. So that was, we had those rights after slavery, after the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment.
And now they're trying to take them away.
They were taken away through Jim Crow and the Hayes-Tilden Compromise, and we had separate but equal. The Supreme Court was co-opted back then with Plessy versus Ferguson, and we had separate but equal all the way for almost 100 years until the Civil Rights Movement. Yeah. Now we're facing that same challenge.
But Bishop, it's almost like we're having these same conversations, the same problems, And it's almost, it feels like that there are conversations about the people without the people involved in them. And as somebody who's young, I guess my fear is that it will never be fixed. So I'm wondering, what can you offer, or what insight do you have to encourage young people who don't understand but are losing hope in this experience with our voice and how important?
I have to draw on my faith. It was the faith that brought our foreparents through slavery, through Reconstruction, through Jim Crow, through the Civil Rights Movement, and that faith and the same God that brought us through that will take us to where we need to be. I believe that God is in control. I believe that our steps are ordered. I believe that we can and will overcome this. And I believe that God has a plan.
Yeah.
And so that is my hope. That is my steadfast belief. But there are things that we have to do.
And what
James teaches us that faith without works is dead.
Come
so
on,
we've got to do our part. And then pray like everything depends on God. But we got to work like everything depends. Other than that, things we've got to do.
Yeah.
There have been dedicated efforts to make sure that people do not understand the true history and the ramifications of history and culture in this nation. There have been things put in place to reduce the opportunity for people to have health care. To have the education that they need to have, the things that the economic empowerment that is necessary for people to be in a position so that they can be self-sufficient and make intelligent decisions in our, quote, democratic system. And of course, if you're not an informed voter, then you will not make the right decisions.
Sure.
If you are not a voter, you will not be able to be a part of making those decisions. And politics is nothing more, nothing less than who gets what, when, and how. And if you're not a part of the system in deciding who makes those decisions, then you're just going to be a victim of it. So we've got to draw on the faith of our fathers and forefathers and work and do everything that we can intellectually, physically, morally, to make sure that we are able to effect the policies that will get us to the point where we need to be.
Yeah. And what kind of conversations do we need to be having that we're not having?
Well, first off,
I know you mentioned it, but I want you to go a little bit deeper, because I think to have you here talking about this is so important. So I want to spend as much time on this as we can, but what were you about to say? Go ahead, finish.
Young people who never knew what segregation was like, who never knew what it was like to have used books at school that Sally had written in and torn pages out of, who never had to go to the back door, as I did as a younger person, who has grown up now with thinking that all of this has always been. They've got to understand from whence we have come as a people, and they've got to understand what it took for us to get to where we are, and they've got to be able to understand what is happening now that is taking that away. Many, many people, not just African Americans, but many people who have been living comfortable lives are now having to face the reality that things may not be as good as they have been, and they've got to wake up to the reality that we have a government that is no longer of the people, by the people, and for the people. And they have taken it for granted for so long that it now is in danger. Our democracy is in danger.
But there's hope, is what you're saying.
There is hope.
There's hope.
But,
it may take us a while to get there.
It will.
But there's hope.
There's hope, and we cannot give up.
Yeah.
I don't believe that God brought us this far to leave us.
Yeah.
So, but we've got to take up
and you say that in faith, but in terms of people who don't understand the faith, how can you be so hopeful if people don't? Because somebody may hear that and be like, well, that's easy to say. It's easy to say trust God, but how can I trust God based on what I'm seeing is complete opposite? That makes sense. So
well, you've got to look back and see how far we have come.
Yeah.
And the difficulties through which we have been able to move through and to overcome.
Sure.
And believe that if it happened then, that it can happen again.
I understand.
Regardless of the difficulty.
Yeah.
We cannot give up. Frederick Douglass said that freedom is a constant struggle. And many of us didn't really take that seriously, but it is. We can see right now that is the case. We can. The price of it is eternal vigilance. We got to protect it.
Yeah. And is that what worries you the most about democracy or the world? Is that, and you kind of briefly touched on it, but we don't understand the seriousness of what's going on.
That's a very, very serious concern for me, and it disturbs me and it concerns me every single day when I see the pillars of our democracy being undermined, the principles on which our country was based, and we're celebrating 250 years of America. But when you can see the deterioration of those basic principles, there are things that people would never have imagined would come out of the leadership, out of the three branches of our government that are now almost being normal.
Sure.
The kinds of invective that comes, the kinds of inequality that is being twisted out of the constitutional interpretations from the courts.
Sure.
It's frightening, and there are things that we just never would have expected because this is America, and we have taken our freedoms for granted, and we have allowed them little by little by little to be eroded, and we have accepted things from people like the current president of the United States that are contrary to the principles on which our Constitution and our country was based.
Yeah, I think it is kind of alarming that we now as a country accept so little from people who have power to change things as far as character goes. And I think that we've actually gotten lazy and this world of voting. You know what I mean? I think our problem, we just leave it up to them. They'll figure it out. They'll get it done. But because of that notion, we end up where we are today. And so it brings me hope to hear you say, we got to keep going. We got to keep the faith.
But it's got to be the younger generation has got to be involved in this now. I'm 79 years old, and I'm in the sunset of my career, and some young, energetic folks are going to have to take up this mantle, and they're going to have to fight this fight, just as I was able to join the fight as a civil rights lawyer and as a legislator, which I didn't get into how I got into being a legislator, which you may or may not want to know. As a civil rights attorney, I took on the Georgia prison system in a case that in representing 6,000 black inmates and 4,000 white inmates. But it started as a racial segregation case with discrimination and denial of human rights to the inmates at the Georgia State Prison. Fast forward, the federal judge ended up ordering the state of Georgia to make the changes to comply with the constitutional rights. It cost $110 million, but for 4 years the legislature wouldn't follow the federal judge's order. I got frustrated and said I need to run for the legislature, which is what pushed me to run for the House of Representatives and then later the state Senate. And I realized while I hadn't gone to seminary that when I was a state representative, I represented 30,000 people, and it was like having a congregation of 30,000 people for whom I had to try to take care of through the work that I did in the legislature. And of course, when I became a state senator, it was 115,000. Eventually, I got to Congress, but I was able to use the political process to try to improve people's lives.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what's missing is that young people probably feel like that they don't have that urge to want to go through those processes to make change. I think they just assume that it's just going to happen like that, or it's just you're just going to appear in this seat or be in some kind of board to make change. But it's not like that, and I think that's probably one of the things that are missing in terms of young people wanting or having young people to change things, is that they just don't want to go through the process of what it takes to change, and so.
It requires
it requires endurance.
Yeah, it does. And every movement, it has not been the massive population that has done it. They have come in to support, but it's usually been a handful of leaders that have taken the leadership and taken the mantle and have moved forward, and it has eventually gravitated to others who have expanded, and they've gotten and we've got to do that.
Yeah, we do.
People have got to understand, and they've got to join in this movement. And everybody's to understand that everybody has a part to play. Sure.
What do you hope for our last and closing questions, because I want to respect your time? What do you hope your legacy will be?
I hope that at the end of my life, people can look at what I have done and say that I tried to make life better for others, for my community. We started out with my grandmother, brighten the corner where you are. She said, try to leave things better than you found them. And of course, I've tried to do that through my life. As an attorney, I tried to make the prison system in Georgia better, and that was a landmark case. But I also tried to use the political process to improve people's lives through jobs and a stronger economy, better education, safe communities, clean environment, health care, the ingredients that make for a better life. And of course, through my work as a member of the House of Representatives in Congress as well as in the state, I hope that the things that I have done have made life better for the people that I represented and for humankind. That is what I hope that my legacy will be. Not only did I try to pass laws, but I tried to use the process to make it work for people, for communities, so that everybody could realize his or her full potential.
Well, you've definitely done that. Let's say that there's an empty room and there's 2 chairs, and in one chair is the younger bishop, probably that high school going into Morehouse, and he's waiting on this now bishop, you now, to come into this room. I wonder what would you say to him? What are you saying to that younger bishop?
Looking back, I would urge that younger bishop to be more serious, to be more thoughtful, to be more disciplined. I appreciate all of the experiences that I have had, good and bad, because I've grown from all of them.
Right.
I'm grateful that I had the parents that I had, the experiences that I had, and the upbringing that gave me the values to value
Sure.
all people.
Sure.
And of course, I would say to that younger bishop, be sure that you respect all people, whomever they are, and do all that you can for as long as you can to help everyone for a better life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I thank you today, Bishop, for sitting with me, and I hope that young people hear this, and I hope that at the end of this conversation, hope is at the center.
Yeah.
Because you're right. You are at the sunset of your career, and I appreciate all that you've done, and I hope that there's somebody that can come behind you to do more. So I hope that's what this does.
And I can really say that I'm grateful, and I would say to that younger bishop and to younger people that they should try to be more patient and to listen to older people who have gained wisdom and experience. I was fortunate and I was blessed that I had relationships with older people and a generation of folks that were willing to pour into me.
Sure.
And because they did and I listened, I was able to gain
success.
Great wisdom, and I suffered some falls, but had I listened, I could have perhaps avoided.
Yeah.
But I would say to young people, develop relationships with mentors and try to gain from their experiences because it will mean all the world to you.
I also want to thank your wife too, because I can only imagine the amount of time that you've had to spend away from your family. So I want to thank your family as well for sharing you with us. I want to thank them as well, because it is you can't look at your life and not see all that you've done, and not see all the sacrifice that you've been able to take too. So I thank you and your family for that.
And I do have to say that we are now about to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary. But she and I were both elected. I was elected to Congress, and she was elected to the clerk of municipal court in Columbus in 1992 at the same time. She was a public servant. She gave so much of herself in public service.
She did.
And we both had that common responsibility and aspiration. And of course, we sacrificed for each other, but for our communities and for the people. And so I am grateful that she was there with me, and that my family has sacrificed, and that now that she is retired, I recognize that I owe her time too.
Right. Well, thank you again for joining me, Bishop. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Brought to you by MSW Productions.